Hello, my name is Mordred Viking, and I'd like to welcome you to episode 2 of this Let's Play Brazil in Kaiserreich. This is the mod for Hot to Iron 4. In the last episode, we started out with Brazil. We have got their industry and stuff going slowly going through the focuses, although currently we're stopped because we have a massive deficit. And now we have the election of 1936. Now, having done a bit more reading, I'm pretty sure they're going integralista is the way that we want to go to form the Empire of Brazil. So, we're going to go with the integralists. Plínio Salgado is the new president. The people of Brazil have chosen a change. Plínio Salgado is the new president. No more politics will be dominated by the interests of a small ruling class. We are also fed up of the harassing by the syndicalist bandits. This decadent and unpopular government will be rebuilt from scratch according to our ideology. However, it would be wise to form a coalition government with like-minded politicians. Inviting the more right-wing elements of the armed forces would be a nice move, according to some. Others, however, believe in striking a deal with Getúlio Vargas's Republicans. Their populist ideas actually match several points of our own agenda. So we can invite the hardline Tenentes, which increases the national populist and authoritarian Democrats, and we gain you as a head leader. Or the integralists will head the new government alone. Or we can go with Vargas. So Miguel Costa becomes the head of government, and Salgado becomes only the economy minister? No, I think we need to do this one on our own. Which increases our popularity a lot. Vargas has a daily political power reduction, construction speed bonus, military factory debuff, same ideology increase, infrastructure construction bonus. Or you get a fort construction bonus, army experience, max planning, national unity from security minister. No, we're going with this one. The next chief minister, at least until we enact a new constitution, the president of Brazil acts as a head of state, although real power must be shared with his chief minister in the presidency, Ministério-chefe da Casa Civil. He is responsible for assisting the president, overseeing all cabinet requests and bureaucratic procedures involving the presidency, and is also responsible for negotiations with the state governments, with the ministers and both houses of Congress. The AIB has put forward 2 different candidates for the post. The party's favourite is Gustavo Barroso, the political theorist responsible for much of the integralist doctrine. Another option would be Euclides Figueiredo, the former army colonel. So if we went with Barroso, massive increase in the number of goods factories required, but we do also gain a little bit of political power gain. And we get Sudo as the foreign minister. We also get Padilha, who is terrible at everything, the corrupt kleptocrat. And this sounds like you are destroying my industry, and I don't like the idea of that. Or we get Euclides Figueiredo, who gives land, construction speed, max planning, army experience, ideology bonus. Padilha still destroys the economy. But we get the Prince of Terror. Those are always the same. Muller, Padilla, Casulo. So it's only between the top guys. So you're both national populists. Political protege. Consumer goods factory 7%. That's horrible. You know what? I'm actually going to go for the land fort max planning. Army experience. Okay. And our flag has changed. Salgado is now in charge. We have to get rid of this guy as soon as possible. And we now dominate politics, so we should get a bonus to popularity. No, that needs to be at 60%. Never mind. But having that 10% should help. The unsellable coffee. The landed oligarchs in Sao Paulo have presented us with an issue. With coffee prices falling day by day in the international markets, farmers are now filling their warehouses with more and more unsellable harvests. And now they've come to ask us to help them out of this. According to our economists, if we don't act now, the deepening agricultural crisis will end up affecting other sectors of the economy. These landowners aren't sure if they can trust the incoming integralist order, so this may be our chance to establish some ties with this class. Mainstream opinion within the AIB, however, is that we must keep our distance from the old-styled paternalistic politicians. Did they always believe in the free market? Ignore them. Buy the surplus coffee and burn it. That will raise its price. Burn coffee, burn. That would, I'm sure, piss them off. The landed oligarchs are usually aristocrats. Would that be the case here? I don't know. We're going to do that one. We'll see if it does anything positive. I have no idea. I'm still kind of waiting for this civil war to kick off. I hope this isn't like the Russia game where we just bypass it. That would be really disappointing. And how is the stockpile of guns going? Yeah, we're making 1,000. Can we train another unit? We can. Whoops, didn't mean that. We can train 2 more units. I think we should start doing that. Just so we have some more soldiers in the bank for if and when this civil war breaks out. Although it does mean that we won't have as many guns in the stockpile, we are still producing them at a fairly brisk rate still. Rio is still getting more infrastructure, and then when that's done, we should probably start military factories. Like, that's going against every single creed that I usually follow. But if we're going to be in a civil war, we probably want the extra industrial power. The end of American democracy. Surprising news has arrived from the United States of America today. President Herbert Hoover, whose administration has been proven to be incapable of stabilizing the divided country and calming down the CSA and AFP militants, has invited General Douglas MacArthur to take the reins of the country with a junta of military men and corporate representatives. President MacArthur is a strong proponent of an iron fist rule and opposes both syndicalism and American pacifism. Large-scale crackdowns on the enemies of America have already been reported. Troubling. What's the combat with these guys? 18, so we could potentially add 1 more to get you up to 20. And we could actually afford to do this. Are we going to be adding artillery to these units later? Probably. But then we can just remove them and then we get a bunch of guns back. Do it. Let's get these units up to a good fighting strength. United States has declared war on the combined syndicates of America. That is most unfortunate. And there's the American Union State, which, wow, just exploded in size. Combined Syndicates of America declared war on the Union State. The American Union State declared war on the United States. The Second American Civil War. To uneducated foreigners, it might seem like the crisis in the United States happened out of nowhere, but experts agree that this was a civil war years in the making. Ever since the collapse of the New York Stock Exchange in 1929, the economy of the United States has been in constant downturn. Now, the United States has devolved into a 3-way civil war between the loyalists to the old government, the syndicalist Combined Syndicates of America, and the conservative and xenophobic American Union State. There have already been reports of arriving volunteers from Europe to fight for the faction of their liking. The Second American Civil War might just be the first of many battlefields between the great powers of the world in this tough time for humanity. Most unfortunate, right. Let's bring you guys out and start training you up again. Apparently we have an air force. Interesting. Syndicalist uprising in Manila. As the Philippines have peacefully achieved independence from the United States during the chaotic US Civil War, their young Commonwealth is already facing the dangers of syndicalism. Inspired by both the combined syndicates uprising in America and by the Bharatian Commune in India, a group of disgruntled army officers have ordered their units to march towards Manila, where they have joined forces with the bands of peasants and industrial workers. They are planning to establish a socialist republic on the Philippines archipelago. Democracy prevails. As the armed forces, this happened last time as well. So I think they're just not spawning the troops or something. Syndicalism prevails in Ukraine. After the Weltkrieg, Ukraine became a battleground between the pro-German Hetmanate and the Bolsheviks. The Bolsheviks, Makhno's Free Territory, and many other armed groups. The Hetmanate prevailed, but it turned out to be unpopular among the Ukrainians. And after an agricultural crisis, the infamous Black Monday, this hatred reached a breaking point. The famous Ukrainian syndicalist leader Nikita Khrushchev has led his Red militias dissolve the kingdom and declare the Ukrainian Socialist Republic. Time will tell whether this new entity will endure a German reaction, though. But this victory has strengthened the far-left positions across Middle Europa. Oh, that's really interesting, because Ukraine is strong. They're probably the best of the German miners. I mean, I know they're not a puppet, they're just an alliance, but still. They have a lot of troops, so they have a history of capitulating very easily, especially in my game. Pacific States of America declared war on the United States. That doesn't always happen. Sometimes they decide to stay neutral. And New England, have you joined the Entente? You have. And they immediately signed a white peace. Okay, never mind then. Well, we're overcoming the political power stuff. Tibet has capitulated. The Tibetan government's gone into exile and the main forces have capitulated to the Marklik. Oh, of course, usually Mongolia and Tibet versus Marklik. And it actually kind of looks like Marklik's winning. Oh, that's interesting. It's not something you usually see. Yeah, you are still at war with them. And now the Marklik is double in size. And no longer fighting on two fronts. They have double the troops. Although Mongolia has double the civilian factories, but those take a while to start producing military factories. So you probably have a bit of time there. I thought we already got Lessons Black Monday. I guess we didn't. Well, we may as well, because that does come out as a net bonus, I think. The chaos that met our country in the aftermath of Black Monday shook the already weakened economy to its very core. It's time we started a reorganization effort for our economy. Or can we start getting some of these? No, not yet. So yeah, let's do that. And we can now deploy those units, which should definitely be done down here. And then I think we're just going to cancel those. These two, new unit, train. How are we doing for suppliers? 1.1 thousand. We could probably actually start training some more soon. We can go one training. Whoops. What happened there? That was weird. And yeah, we'll add another unit and you can start getting the equipment over time. We do have a shortage, but that's fine. You're still producing, though you need 14. Mechanical computing, support weapons, and concentrated industry all completed at once. Cool. Still 36, so I'm going to say let's get the radio, seeing as it's a nice quick one. We got all of these. Do we want excavation? We probably do. And then doctrines? Sure. What doctrine are we going for? Probably one of these two. Now, seeing as we're actually going to have a lot of rubber and oil, mobile warfare is not a bad shout. I think we're going to go mobile warfare, because I can see us having good armies of mechanized and tanks. Though we are going to need to find a steel source fairly soon. Let's go on a bit of a recce. Our popularity is rising. Due to popular policies, one of our loyal ministers has managed to strengthen our ideology. With some additional influence, we can increase the popularity. I think that's a great idea, because that sticks us over 60%, doesn't it? Yes! And with that, we're going to go up to high party popularity, which increases our political power growth. Alright, resources. South Africa is mostly chromium. There it is. That's chromium, bit of rubber. Little bit of steel. Steel here in North Africa. We could go up to Spain. Or even United States, Mexico. That's a little bit of chromium. Chromium, oil. Yeah, we probably should go up to the United States, honestly. Once we got South America. They have quite a lot of steel, especially up there in the north. Lessons of Black Monday. The chaos that met our country in the aftermath of Black Monday shook the country. We already read that. Industrial recovery. One more civilian factory in Nordest. Or we could gain some more political. You know what? We're going to continue getting political power so we can stabilise a bit more. Okay, so we have the radio. We have all the industrial stuff researching that I wanted. Let's get slightly better artillery. So that is something I'm sure we'll go for, especially as we can get tungsten. Quite a lot of it. Might just be self-propelled artillery, but still, it's decent. Crisis on the Danube. Despite the victory in the Weltkrieg, the Austro-Hungarian Empire appeared bound to collapse. The Ausgleich of 1927, negotiated when Emperor Otto was still a child, managed to preserve it, though, via granting extensive rights to most of the minorities in the empire. However, the Hungarians were angered by this fact and sought to establish a domineering position in the empire, while the Habsburgs were still interested in retaining their role. Many put high hopes on the Ausgleich of 1937 to preserve the monarchy, but it appears that older diplomacy has failed. Hungary and Austria have been separated and even gone into conflict with one another. A war is bound to affect any and all autonomous territories in the empire. Now, is this going to be the high point for Bohemia again? Rising up and winning the war for the Austrians? And there go the Italian Federation. You go and attack Montenegro. What's Montenegro ever done to you? You guys are trained? Ooh. Serbia is declaring war on Bosnia-Herzegovina. Romania is declaring war on Hungary. That's going to help the Austrians, because they're fighting a two-front war at the same time that Austria is. And you're declaring war on Croatia-Dalmatia. Balkans just erupted. And Germany's just kind of going, yes, weaken yourselves. Excellent. I'm sure. Or maybe France is. More likely France. Canadian Commonwealth has declared war on Denmark? What? Probably for Greenland. Increase in stability. With our political power recovered, we managed to somewhat stabilise our country, but we're not completely out of trouble yet. Excellent. So hopefully this investment in political power is paying off somewhat. How are we doing with the construction? Not great. Not great. Although we can definitely get some more civilian factories going here. And we can also deploy these units. Let's say here. We're actually training troops at a fairly quick rate. Quite pleased with this. The integralists will have an acceptable military. Hungary and Iron Guard Romania have signed a white peace. Okie dokie. I mean, once we're back at about 0, we can start doing the national focuses again. Not quite there yet, but we're recovering. And the more stability we have, the more of the factories we have going. Which also makes a difference. Yeah, the Austrians are dominating. Kicking the living daylights out of Hungary. You're Galicia as well. You are. Interesting. So the Austro-Hungarian Empire could actually grow fairly strong here, which would be interesting for the Central Powers, though I don't often see Austria actually align themselves with Germany. Maybe that's because they're usually fighting their own wars at the time? I'm not sure. Interesting thought. Okay, these guys are back in training. Aha! Here's the Spanish Civil War. Carlos Kingdom of Spain declared war on Spain. The FAI have appeared as well. Federación Anarquista Ibérica declared war on the Carlist Kingdom of Spain, Spanish Civil War. Ever since the defeat of Napoleon, Spain has been plagued by violence, dissent and turmoil. But it appears that these tensions have reached a breaking point. That is, the Spanish kingdom has been ripped apart in a three-sided civil war between numerous factions: the loyalists of the Madrid government, the supporters of the pretender Javier, and finally the anarcho-syndicalist party known as the CNT-FAI. There are already numerous reports of volunteers and equipment being shipped to Spain from all over the world to support one faction or another. It can be safely said that the fields and mountains of Spain will be the first battlefield in a much wider conflict against the left and the right. This was the first one, I think. Ooh, you guys are going to squish this bit, divide it between you. Interesting. And I would say that we're getting pretty close to resolving that. You two have made a white peace, which... yeah, Italy took some land from Austria. I'm surprised by that. Increase in stability, excellent. With our political power recovered, we finally got out of the bad situation we got us in. Hopefully it won't happen again. We're at average. And with that, we can now go on to the land focus. Let's get the industrial recovery. Grab that. And just make sure that this doesn't fall below -60. -50 even. Marvellous. Okay. Brazil's bouncing back. Still no hint of a civil war either. So I don't know what triggers that. Don't know. Maybe the Matazzaro conference? Once the industrial recovery is done. We'll see. Ah, we've got some more troops which need to be assigned. Whoops. Both of you, assign to that. You two, assign to that. Done. Marvellous. Interwar artillery. Excellent. Still 37, only halfway through. If we're going to be focusing on air power, then maybe we should be looking at this. Let's get some close air support research going, and then maybe some air doctrine. Oh, we should be getting land doctrine. Are we missing a land doctrine? No, we're still doing it. Wow, you fell really quickly again. I have a feeling you're not spawning with troops either. Much the same way as the Philippines. Or else the peace deals are balked still. Apparently that was the reason for the patch which lost us the Union of Britain game. They've implemented a new system of peace treaties and it wasn't working. Apparently it is now, but I haven't seen them yet. Okay, so you're done. So I think we are going to go air doctrine. I think we are going to go battlefield support. We're just going to have mechanized armies with air support, so we're going to need a big industry. Okay, you guys are building more troops. Magnificent. You guys are training. Excellent. Weapon production continues apace. And we have a fair amount of army experience now. None of the other parties are particularly strong compared to us. But I would be surprised if literally nothing happens. Get 20% extra build speed once we have civilian economy, which would be nice. I haven't looked at any of the other companies. Don't even know how many there are. Ooh, that's a big soft attack. Aha, dealing with the trade unions. The trade unions of Brazil, especially those aligned with the two main syndicates in the country, the CBT and the BOC, have been a major issue for our integralist regime. While the core leadership of these organisations is made of committed socialists and been in active opposition towards our government, their power is being diluted as more and more of the workers are sympathising with our cause. However, their support is tenuous at most, as the bulk of these proletarians can revert to socialism at any greater sign of crisis. With this in mind, our cabinet has proposed 3 different solutions to this issue. Filinto Muller of the Federal Police proposes a simple crackdown and dissolution of the trade unions. If we force these organisations underground, their political power will simply disappear. Our Ministry of Industry proposes instead that we simply replace their leadership with more loyal workers. By putting integralist proletarians in power, we will be sure of continuous support from the unions of our doctrine. The core of our regime, however, made of Plinio Salgado and other theorists like Gustavo Barroso and Miguel Real, defend the integration of the syndicates on our government structure. Only by granting the proletarians an active voice on our government, they say, can we be sure that the demands of even the humblest of Brazilians will be listened. So we can get rid of them, which would destroy my political power gain, but it does reduce their popularity. Or we can replace the leadership with loyal proletarians, which gives us more political power and increases the popularity of the national populists. Or they will have important place on integralist society, which just gives us political power. We're going to replace their leadership, but otherwise the loyalists will be listened to and respected in a way. Alright, see if that works. Industrial recovery. Marvellous. Our industry is still far from recovery, but it can be steered back to its place. With a slight nudge, of course. Okay, so it is time for the Matarazzo Conference, I think. Let us hear what our captains of industry suggest to deal with the current economic situation. After all, who would be most qualified? Make it happen. Are we now building our civilian factories? We are. We're up to 9 of them now, rather than 2, I think, previously, when we were in the midst of the bad times. You guys aren't quite trained. You guys are still on the way. That's fine. Austria seems to have faltered somewhat now. Romania, are you still in that war? No, Romania's pieced out. Interesting. And because Austria's lost so much land to Italy, that's going to hurt them, because this is pretty well industrialized. Austrian Empire took 8 states. On the other hand, Hungary could just collapse. And Austria is now just at war with... Oh no, still at war with... Serbia, Croatia, Dalmatia, Montenegro, and Galicia, Lodomera. This. In fact, Serbia seems to be doing pretty well. Interesting. You guys are done. Excellent. You guys are almost done. We can probably add another unit or 2 even. As even more production starts rolling off the lines. We're still low, but not quite enough that we want to get more. Serbia was annexed. That seemed easy considering how big Serbia was. And is again quite small. So yeah, Austria certainly looks like it's making a bit of a comeback here. Our guys are fully trained. We're still building. Still kind of waiting for bad things to happen, because they haven't yet. Anyway, with that, I think we are in a position to end this episode. So, thank you very much for watching. If you are enjoying this series, then please do hit that like button. If you haven't done so already, then do consider subscribing. And if you have any tips or advice for me, let me know in the comments. Thank you very much for watching. I'll catch you next time. Goodbye.